a special guest here with us today. This is Kirsty. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Kirsty. I work at InTime Tech as a UX UI designer, designing interfaces for apps and websites. And I enjoy working here, and that's about it.
Awesome.
Kirsty has lost a lot of weight.
Oh, I guess there's that too.
How much weight you have lost so far?
Oh, at least 20 pounds, if not more.
20 pounds.
I think I gained some muscles. So.
Yeah, so maybe more fat, but overall weigh 20 pounds, maybe a lot healthier, a lot fitter,
Yeah, definitely.
and you look really great.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Good. Awesome.
Yeah, so today we're going to talk about moods and feelings. We use the term moods and feelings a lot at InTime Tech, and Kirsty and I had a really good conversation about it a couple weeks ago, where she asked a valid question of, how do you operate outside of your moods and feelings and still be fully self-expressed?
Yeah.
And, I think that Jeet is the expert on this. He's admitted that he has moods and feelings, and yet he is able to acknowledge them and operate outside of them very quickly.
Yeah. So let's talk about why are we talking about this topic.
Yes.
Why we really concerned and care about, are we operating based on our moods and feelings, or we are operating based on the possibilities that we are committed to create on this planet. So let's talk about why it is critical. See, maybe Tasha and Kirsty, it's a rhetorical question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Where do you experience moods and feelings?
All the time.
And all the time, but where?
Oh,
Location-wise. Which part of
your brain.
For me, it's here.
right?
Yeah.
So, but it mostly happens inside.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now think about if you are alone in a jungle, or you have a mansion and big palace where you are living, but you are alone. And since moods and feelings happen within you, they are there. They're always there. Because since it's happened inside. Right, Annalisa?
Right.
She's our cameraman. But then, if you think about it, that's what is happening. Can you live a life in a palace or in a jungle where you have all the luxury at one place? Maybe you are fighting for something in living alone. But can life be lived alone? You're just alone. There's no human being around you.
I mean, you're living, your heart is beating and your body is functioning, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's living life.
You're spending time.
Yeah.
Living happens most of the time, if not all the time, through other human beings. And so why this topic is so critical is, while moods and feelings happen inside of our brain, while life happens outside of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And it is exclusive, or, as far as my experience is concerned, that either I can live in my moods and feelings, or I can live out here in human beings' lives.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the exploration for today.
Totally.
Why it happens? Because life is happening here, and yet we feel so compact, so in tune with our moods and feelings. And our actions are mostly correlated. Most of the time it's a manifestation of what we are feeling inside. Right? So, Kirsty, share more about a scenario where your actions were totally totally based on moods and feelings. And another scenario where your action was totally out based on what's happening out here in another human being's life. And if you need me to share one experience, I'm more than happy to share.
Yeah, can you share one first?
Yes.
That'll give me a chance to think.
Absolutely, and I think that's wonderful because you can see. I'll give you something which you have done it. A few minutes ago, I talked about you losing 20 pounds. The reason why you lost 20 pounds because you start living life out here, not driven by based on your moods and feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are times in the morning, there must be a time when you felt no, heck no, I'm not going to gym, or I'm feeling tired, or I don't like it, or I don't want it. And yet you were quite committed to show up in gym. You were quite committed to eat food that was consistent with the kind of commitment you have out here to live, and not letting your moods and feelings drive the show or run the show. Right? For me, I look at my wife, my kids, when I go home, at times like I reach home, let's say 5 o'clock, and my wife asks a question, gee, where were you? You said you will come 3 o'clock, but you are now coming 5:30. And my moods and feelings right away say, Viju, you better shut up. And yet I don't do that. Because if I let my moods and feelings drive me, it was coming from the place called, don't you understand? I'm working so hard, I'm doing so many things, I'm doing blah, blah, blah. But what it means for her, she was alone at home since morning to evening, putting up with all kind of stuff. Kids were driving her nuts. She went twice to school to drop our daughter Gia, picked her up, came, cooked food. And that makes me wonder, should I let my moods and feelings drive the show? Or should I really say, Viju, I'm sorry. I sat and I got stuck in something and I'm here. And her reaction was, yeah, you must be drinking beer with Dan. That's why you are late. And I say, yep. And then again my moods and feeling kicks in again.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, yeah, I was. But we were creating something. And honey, I love you so much and I'll be there. And so in a scenario where my moods and feelings was telling me, just watch out and just be based on what my mind is saying, versus I was out here and listening to her, what it must be for her, and being out here and did what needed. My responses my replies were consistent with who I am for her. It doesn't matter what my mood says. So I can give you that example where I'm so aware. In the past, I used to be just like, okay. And then my evening is gone, her evening is gone, and no life, and we are just like fighting for what? There's no reasons. Right? So, Christy, I can give you that one example where I've been watching my moods and feelings and not let my life run based on what my mind is saying. This is based on moods and feelings or thoughts and memories, versus who I am for human being out here. In this case, wife or an employee or partner or a client or a clients, whosoever might be.
Yeah. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, can I just share
Yeah.
really quickly? So, in your sharing, one thing that came to my mind about my own moods and feelings, because you're really good at it's really quick for you to recognize those moods and feelings, accept them, and then move through them and pass them and move on to be what you're committed to being. And it makes me think of this last summer, I was going through a hard time. I was thinking about separating from my husband, and I was overcome with moods and feelings about it. It was very overwhelming to think about ending a marriage and, a relationship of 13 years, and I didn't want to do anything. I was stuck. And the fear was kind of running my show at that point. And, and essentially what you said to me is, what are you committed to being?
Yeah.
And I was like, loving and peaceful. And you're like, you're neither of those things right now. So you need to just do something. Just do something and stop letting those moods and feelings run the show. And I mean, that was a long drawn out process
Yeah,
because
but
it was bigger, but it was still one of those things where, you helped remind me of what I was committed to be able to kind of, I was still scared. I was still fearful. I was, still had moods and feelings about it, but was able to take action and move forward despite those moods and feelings.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think I can think of one example of when I started working at In Time Tech. I had been here probably 2 months or so, and we had to move desks, and just because we're growing, and it's just the way
Because we
things
always
worked
move
out.
desks,
And for some reason that just really upset me, and so I and that happened a few times where we had to move desks again later, and each time I just got really upset. And that's definitely an instance where my moods and feelings were running the show that I can think of. And then you asked for an example of when I haven't let them.
Yeah.
Right.
When you were able to go beyond your moods and feelings and did what you were committed to do, what was required, not required as your necessity, but required as your commitment to do what you were committed to do.
Yeah, I think the one that comes to mind right now is what you mentioned earlier of working out, where it just sometimes I'm afraid, sometimes I'm tired, like you said, when I wake up in the morning. Sometimes I'm just like so caught up in like, oh, what do I look like? Are these clothes too tight? Like, do I look weird? Or and just all these different thoughts. And sometimes those make me not want to go to the workout. But since I am committed to going to the workout, I set those aside and say, nope, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And then I just go and do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you can see the results out of your commitment to do what you took it on, right? You said, I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to work out. I'm going to eat proper. I'm going to have right kind of nutrition. All that help you to who you have become now, right? So maybe we should explore, Tasha and Christy, in this. In what scenarios our moods and feelings drive the show, runs the show? In what scenarios when it doesn't or they don't? So in your two examples, Christy, moving the desk, you were upset and your moods and feelings were running the show. Versus your workout where moods and feelings come, but your actions are still way beyond. So in one case, you let your moods and feelings decide what actions you take. In another case, your moods and feelings don't decide what you do or what actions you do. So what happens in those two scenarios? If I could explore.
I don't know.
Yeah, I get that. And so this is inquiry, right? I can share mine, and then you think.
Okay.
And Tasha, you should also explore.
Absolutely.
If I see that my life will not, cannot happen until I'm consistent with my commitment out here, I would always let my life run by my moods and feelings. So there has to be reasons, there has to be a cause, there has to be something out here. For example, I share my example about my sharing with my wife. If I am not committed that I want to be someone who has a loving, caring, affectionate relationship with my wife, I'm staying. In those heat of the moments, I would let my moods and feelings reply back to her. If I'm clear and I'm committed that no matter what, who I am is a loving, caring husband and is someone who's a life partner who wants to create a possibility for her and for our home as a peace, happiness, and joy, then I would not listen to my moods and feelings because they are not consistent with what I'm committed to. Right? So, one of the things which I have been practicing is in all areas of my life, even when I come to office, let's say at In Time Tech, Christy, you must have seen, and Tasha has been working with me by now for some time. I'm clear about each relationship and about each assignment and each responsibility I have, that what I'm committed to. And I've seen more often than not, when I'm not, my moods and feelings run the show. Right? So you share about your working out, you're committed in that space, and then you don't listen. Versus moving desk, there's a lack of understanding why we do it. I'm not clear what my commitment is here.
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
do
I think
you-
that's true. When we were moving desks, I would say in my progress, I wasn't to the point where I realized how I was affecting other people by my actions. And, you know, over the last few months, as I've become more aware of how my actions affect other people, I think that's
Beautiful.
been the changing factor for me. And my commitment is to show up in a way for other people that is positive and has influence and isn't negative, and you know.
But can you see, it's quite evident and it's quite, we all experience that, Kirsty.
Thanks.
I personally experienced, Tasha,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I think that's what it takes. Any sharing from you on that, Tasha?
I know you really struggled at the beginning with that idea of your moods and feelings being an expression of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I have as well. You know, Gina had a conversation at the end of the summer where I was like, I think moods and feelings are beautiful. and I mean, they are to the extent that they make us human.
Yeah. And
And-
the question is at that time, they're beautiful, they make us human. The question is, are they helping us?
Yes, are they serving a purpose? And that was something that you and I had just talked about, you know, where you said, you asked me, what about the self-expression? If I don't express that I'm feeling this certain way, then I'm not fully self-expressed. And is it serving you?
Yeah.
You know, is you complaining about something, is you being negative about something, is it moving the action forward? Is it
And
serving a purpose?
I can tell you, I could not imagine, Tasha, the example which you just shared about your conversation with Christy, I have these kind of conversations with many people that yes, you need to be authentic.
Mm-hmm.
Authenticity is key.
Yep.
Because if you are not authentic, then you are not real. But it doesn't give you, me as a G, as permission, it doesn't give me the permission to say whatever I want to say, and I'm authentic, but now other person is pissed off.
Yeah.
Right? I call it like dumping my garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Another word, I'm by the way unfiltered. So, and if we can blip whatever I say, if it doesn't work for some people. But it all comes down to, I say, you being authentic doesn't mean you vomit on other people and you have a nausea and you just vomit. You are clean, clear, but now other person is messy. And that's not self-expression. That's called, oh, I have a privilege to express my moods and feelings and I'm done.
Right.
And truly I don't let people vomit on me. And I hold them accountable and say, okay, I got it. You want to be authentic. Now, do you even know what does it mean to me? Your sharing and your self-expression, do you know what it created for me? And I get present to the same way for me. I don't do because I know it doesn't give me the privilege to say whatever I want to say. I'm responsible. Another word which I want to introduce called I am talking and people's listening. I'm going to say it again. I'm talking and people's listening. Because I'm only going to talk what they are looking to listen. And if their listening is not available for my talking, I need to do a groundwork to make sure they are fully available and open to listen what I'm talking. Right? So you talk about that if I don't express moods and feelings, where is my self-expression? Self-expression is key. But self-expression doesn't give us the reason to say whatever we want to say. We need to be responsible for our words.
And do you remember how that conversation started? You know, we were going through tribal leadership stuff, and you saw how you occurred for other people, and you said, you know, I didn't like this from the beginning. I didn't want to do this, and da 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 da. And that was you just dumping. And then after we had that conversation about moods and feelings and everything, you said, "Can I try it again?"
Yeah.
And what did you say? Do you remember how you kind of approached that?
Yeah, I said, so I'm having some negative emotions come up at this, seeing this. Can you help me work through them?
Yeah, you asked for help.
Yeah.
You didn't just dump. You said, "I'm having this reaction to it, and help me see what I'm missing."
But how much humility you must have had in those days or those scenarios that you were willing to ask that help. Otherwise, say, I'm okay, I don't need this, right?
Yeah.
It requires really immense amount of humility, right? You need to be humble, you need to really be down to earth. But it all happened also, Christy, when you accepted your moods and feelings.
Yeah.
See, if you don't, then you say, oh, I'm okay, and you keep fighting, you keep resisting.
Yeah, and you can't do that either. You can't just ignore that they're there,
Right?
because they're just gonna sit there. They're not gonna get resolved. You're not gonna be able to move past them.
Yeah, I say resistance causes persistence, acceptance causes disappearance. If you accept, it will disappear because now you are going to move forward. For example, Kirsty, if you say, Jeet, you are stupid, right? And if I keep telling you, no, I'm not, then that conversation still persists. No, Jeet, you are. You are. And I'm saying I'm not. And then it's just if I keep resisting to it, it's going to keep persisting. And the moment you say, Jeet, you are stupid, and I say, yeah, Kirsty, I am. Now what? The moment I accept it, now what would you say to that?
I don't know, I'd just be like, oh, okay.
Right? But can you see how quickly it disappeared?
Yeah.
Because I just simply what I did, I just accepted. Yeah, I am. Whether I am or not, but at least I am for you. So what's the problem for me accepting that how it is occurring to you? Right? Because human beings is not who they are, but who they are is only based on how they occur to other human beings. So if you are saying I'm stupid, then I must be for you. And if I accept that, then we can move forward. Then you can help me not to be stupid. Or I can help myself not to come across to you as a stupid man.
Yeah.
And that is such a beautiful creation. So the moment you accepted your moods and feelings, that's what I'm getting. You ask for help from Tasha. Hey Tasha, can you look into it? I don't know. But if you kept resisting to it and say, I'm okay, it would have been kept going.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I did in the past is, I'd resist those and be like, no, I'm not feeling that.
Yeah.
And it would just get worse. And then I feel like, you can only hold that pattern for so long before it just explodes or
Yeah,
something.
I call it a pressure cooker mentality. The pressure is building.
Yes.
The heat is building up and then the bubbles are going up and then one day it's going to come out.
Mm-hmm.
And no one's good.
Yeah.
No one's good. In fact, if you are holding up to that pressure long enough, that means you don't want to look bad to other human beings. So it's about you.
Yeah.
And the moment it bursts out, is also about you because now enough is enough.
Yeah.
Versus another scenario, the moment even a tiny stuff happens. In my world, this is what I have been practicing always towards that. That if tiny little happens, if I'm having some challenge, Annalisa or Tasha or you, Christy, or my business partners, Dan, Matt, Sandeep, Rakesh, or anyone, my wife, Viju, and kids, I'm always willing to talk right away. Because I care enough about that relationship that I'm willing to be vulnerable and take risk. Because I don't want to mess it up, that relationship with that human being. And without making them wrong, we talk about vomiting. No, don't tell them, oh, you did this to me. No, this is how you occurred to me and it did not work for me. Do you see that way? Like if you say something to me, rather than say, hey, Christy, that was not nice of you to say. Versus, hey, Christy, what you said, there must be reason what you said, but it didn't work for me. Now, one is aggressive approach and making you wrong. Another way is just telling and sharing that didn't work for me. There must be reasons why you said what you said, but it didn't work for me. Now, if you love me enough, you say, oh, gee, that was not my intentions. That's not exactly what I wanted you to experience or feel. Let me try it again. Then I will give you a chance, an opportunity to share something in a way that is meaningful for me. But until I take responsibility to share that with you, you had no way that what I felt about your sharing. The first one, right? So I just truly get present to it that how many times human beings run their stories based on their moods and feelings and let them simmer while pressure is building. And one day it come out. No good. And that's the practice which I highly suggest human beings. By the way, any challenges happen in any part of life, particularly when I experience, it doesn't happen overnight. It builds up. But if you can take care of the thing when it is tiny little small problem, and if we need to fight a small, let's fight, quote unquote, rather than having a big fight, let's have a small fight. Tiny fight. And it can be resolved there and there.
Like pulling weeds.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Totally.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I cannot emphasize enough to acknowledge the moods and feelings. Because if you don't, they magnify. They create more problems in life.
Yeah. And that took me a long time to figure out, how to do that. And it took a lot of practice for me to even, recognize like, oh, I'm feeling something right now. And then step back and be like, why am I feeling this right now?
Yeah.
And that took a lot of practice for me. But it's made a huge difference.
I can see that. Yeah, absolutely. So Christy, what suggestions, insights you can give to people who must be listening to this podcast? I'm an old man, so I can, whatever I might say something that's like, but you are just growing up and creating so many possibilities. On what would you suggest to the people like you to practice something to not get stuck, trapped in those conversations?
I know for me it's important that I forgive myself when I do mess up.
Beautiful.
Because otherwise you do get stuck. You just beat yourself up and then you're so focused, at least for me, I'm so focused on myself that I'm not thinking about anyone else. And that's, for me, where the problem always starts, is if I'm so in my head and focused on my own moods and feelings, that's when I get overwhelmed or frustrated, and then I stop making progress.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been a big thing for me to learn to do, is to forgive myself and be like, hey, this happened. I'm going to learn from it, and I'm going to do better in the future.
Yeah, totally got that.
Yeah.
Tasha, any insights to people?
Yeah, I would say to surround yourself with people who get it and who can hold you accountable. They can tell when you're not living into your commitment and you're letting your moods and feelings run the show. Because it was as simple as you saying, you're not being loving or peaceful right now. Nobody's feeling love or peace around you.
Yeah.
And it was like, whoa, okay, yep, I can still be scared, I can still be sad, I can still be hurt, and I can move through that and take action. And so having that support system and somebody that you can go to and say, I'm feeling a lot of things right now. Please help me. What am I missing? Because I know I'm clouded by irrationalities right now. So help me see what I'm missing.
I gotcha. Yeah, totally. And I think acknowledging and recognizing that you have moods and feelings.
Yeah.
It comes by virtue of being human beings.
Mhm.
It comes along with that. No one on this planet, if you have a after cognitive revolution, human beings have moods and feelings. It comes along with that. So I'm clear that I have. I'm also clear other people have it. So first and foremost, which I do is when I see someone's moods and feelings, I don't make them wrong. Along with that, I acknowledge and I accept that I have moods and feelings. Furthermore, I also get present to that my moods and feelings is not who I am. They are just there and they are just triggered for no reasons. Sometimes there might be reasons, sometimes there are no reasons, but they are there. I'm also get clear that in order for me not to run my show or not run my life in a way which is not meaningful, I must create clear commitment in each area of my life. My professional life, my personal life, my relationship with my kids, wife, my partners, employees, myself, everywhere. You talked about, Christy, not to beat yourself up for something which you have done that was not consistent with who you are. I'm very kind to myself too. If I say, oh, I'm going to go to gym tomorrow, and if I don't, based on whatever the reason, then I'm not harsh on myself. I just simply get, okay, what must be coming in my way. So knowing that moods and feelings are the core functionality of a human being. Also knowing that they are not who you are. Also knowing that until and unless you have a clear commitment towards the thing which you are creating or you stand for in each area of your life, your moods and feelings are going to run the show. And then whenever I fall short, despite my commitment, despite knowing, and if I fall short, I don't beat myself. And then lastly, what you shared, Tasha, holding myself accountable and surrounding myself with the people who hold me accountable and calling me out and giving them enough scope and space to let them call me out.
Totally.
Being someone who is approachable. Tasha can come to me, Christy, you can, and I'll say, gee, today you were just crappy. And they don't feel that I'll be mad by hearing that. Then they'll be more than happy to share that. So surrounding myself with the people who love me enough and can call me out. Right? Knowing moods and feelings are there, making sure that they are not who you are, creating commitment in each of my lives where I want to create, knowing that those still be not good enough and falling short and not beating myself and surrounded myself with the people who can hold me accountable are some of the areas or some of the things I can share.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So I actually have a question.
Please.
Yes.
So one area that I'm still struggling with is where you say, that your moods and feelings aren't who you are. What are they then?
Yeah,
I
good.
guess,
So let's talk about that. For example, I say, I love my employees. By virtue of saying that I love my employees, that's who I am. Right? Clear? Now, I got up today in the morning, for example, I'm taking a hypothetical case, and my daughter got a bad score.
Like a bad grade in
Bad
school.
grade.
Mhm.
Or my son flunked some exams, or my wife was not happy with something. And that triggers my moods and feelings about something. I drove from my home and came to the office, and I entered, I swiped my card and got into the office. And now, because of my moods and feelings, I was not happy and angry on that, and I start shouting at people or saying something that was inconsistent with what I said to myself that I love my employees. So, who am I? Am I based on what my moods and feelings are saying at that moment? They are saying, just shout at people, just be angry and frustrated, or $1 million account went away and we have a loss, or our product didn't become successful in some way which I wanted it to be. Do any of those things give me reason to be angry? Probably not. So the question that you asked, Christy, if you are not your moods and feelings, then who are you? I say you are for the word you have given. I gave my word just like you gave your word that I'll go to gym and I'll go to every day to work out. That's the word. Then when you get up in the morning and if you don't feel that going, are you going to listen to your moods and feelings? Or are you going to listen to your word which you have given to yourself?
And I think, when I think about what moods and feelings are, they're just reactions to stimulus, going on around you. And I know that Dan has talked about this too of, your lizard brain turns on when either when you're threatened in some way, either physically or your identity is threatened.
And we call it amygdala hijacking.
Yes.
So your portion of the body has been hijacked. And it's so autopilot,
Yeah.
it's so automatic.
And it's to protect what you think what your brain thinks needs protecting. And it's just a matter of recognizing that that's what it is. I also read somewhere, I'll have to look it up, but the basis of all emotions are either love or fear. And, when you love something, you want to celebrate it, you want to protect it, you want to, share it. And when you're afraid of something, you want to run away from it, you want to avoid it. And so most of your emotions can be, if you're sad, you're afraid of, the unknown or something like that.
Now, Tasha, another on a love and fear, same way, pain and pleasure.
Yeah, exactly.
Avoiding pain and craving for pleasure.
Yep.
Your moods and feeling, let's live 30 minutes more is a pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
Going to gym is a pain.
Yep.
So you avoid pain, you look for pleasure.
Yeah.
And that has been the case for human beings.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's some genetic.
yeah, it's really coded at a DNA level. It's a genetic stuff, and those triggers moods and feeling, and it's so autopilot, so automatic. And knowing that they are there, allow you to work with them and work on them, both.
And I think as humans evolved, the way that we articulate those moods and feelings has also evolved. It's not just pain and pleasure anymore. It's happy and joy and excitement, and there's so many
And on the side,
nuances.
sad and
Yeah.
anxious and unhappy and all that stuff on the pain side.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There is no physical pain,
Right.
but there is emotional pain.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you rejected me. Oh, you didn't look at me the way you want. I expected you to look at me. That's a pain.
Yeah.
And avoiding that at any cost is what people and human beings do.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to get what they don't want to get, and their experiences are going to be. I know, I'm going to share a quick one, Tasha, can I?
Yeah, of course.
I remember, I think recently my mom has been diagnosed with some medical emergency cancer. I think, Christy, I haven't shared with you, but I'm going to share a quick one. When I got to know that day, it was so autopilot. And when I got to know that over the phone, my amygdala hijack happened like that, and I was sad. I was, okay, now what? Right? There a lot of things came up. But knowing that they are not who I am, they are there because something happens, that was a pain. And but having some tools and skills, I was in Mount Hood, we were having an offsite meeting, Matt, Dan and I were there. The moment I got to know, 30 minutes later I came out and I shared with both of them, that's what happened and that's what I got to know. But I was very peaceful. Peaceful to the extent where I knew those feelings is not who I am. Those feelings are there and they are real, and I'm not going to fight with them. But that's not who I am. I just accepted them, I acknowledged them, I welcomed them, I felt sad. But the moment I accepted all of that, I was happy for her life. The she has lived 74 years of her life and created 5 kids, and we are all over the planet. I'm here. What to be unhappy about? I, in fact, got to a place where I want to celebrate her life. As long as she lives on this planet, I want to be someone who makes sure that she has no pain in her life kind of scenario. So we talk about today about moods and feelings, which happens someone didn't look at you in a meaningful way, and then moods and feelings kicked in. That's a small thing to even big life event where one of your parents, you got to know that they have a cancer. The gravity of those things can be defined, whatever, but they sometimes trigger the similar kind of feelings. But having those tools and skills allow people to know that whatever you are hearing here, whatever you're experiencing is not who you are. Who you are is out here for other human beings. So that's what I want to share.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Anything else on moods and feelings? How are you feeling now?
Well, I'm curious, do you ever, like positive moods and feelings, how do you ever use those?
Yeah.
Engage with them?
Beautiful. If you are getting something which is helping you, I call it more of a disempowering context versus empowering context. Right? If those moods and feelings are empowering you to do what you have given your word to, you are truly consistent with the word which you have given to other people. So, if you want to call them moods and feelings, sure, but they are consistent with the word which you have given to yourself and other people. But if those moods and feelings which are opposite, inconsistent with what you have told yourself that how you are going to be out here, then those kind of moods and feelings we are talking. Not necessarily they are negative, by the way. At times, you have a feelings, or let's not go to gym. That's a feelings, it's not a negative feeling. But are those feelings consistent with who you are? Who you are to the word which you have given to yourself and to the other people is what we need to look at it.
So if they are, by all means, use them.
Empowered. Yeah, in fact, they are great. Nurture them, in fact. Grow them. It's always good.
That's a really good distinction,
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely. Those are absolutely good ones to have because they are going to forward you and forward the conversation, forward the action, and forward the cause.
That makes sense.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, anything else, Tasha?
No, not from my end.
Yeah. Christy, anything else? Yeah, for me, I think what I can see, since we have been talking and working together, because for us it's not a talk, it's a way of living.
Yeah.
I want us to walk away from this conversation with a commitment to practice. Knowing that this is a mountain with no top. More you practice, better you become, but then there is no perfection here. I am still learning. How do I really watch? I used just an example a few minutes ago, but I'm constantly watching. Right? So being aware that you will never be perfect in that, but then you can be excellent in the process.
Yeah.
Is that what I look at it. But knowing about this distinction allow me to live the life that I love and live it fully, and I'm very empowered. And more I practice, more and more I get present to and I'm gotten by it, that how profound way of living where you know that you have a clear idea that you are not going to let your life be based on your moods and feelings. They will not run your show. Your life will be only based on your words and what you have committed to other human beings.
Yeah, it's so freeing too when you're able to, you know, just not be run by those.
Mhm.
It's a very liberating feeling, I think.
Totally.
You're a good example of a G.
Thank you, Christy. And you are a great example of being committed to learn and grow and contribute and practice.
Thanks.
And Tasha, your leadership is key.
Mhm.
What you have done for Christy, what you've done for Annalisa, and what you have done for many other places. You guys are like awesome. Really, right? So keep practicing, keep doing it, and life is fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. That's all from my side.
Yeah, thanks Kirsty for
Yeah.
joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks guys. Bye.
Thank you guys. Bye.